with us with reaction. Senator Ted Cruz, great state of Texas. Senator, I could only hope. I don't count any vote, take any election for granted, but certainly you can't point to a single thing that Joe has done that's successful. At least I can't. Maybe you can.
Yeah, no, Sean, you're exactly right. It is amazing how this president, this administration has managed to get every single policy wrong, from economic policy to domestic policy to foreign policy. In some ways, you have to marvel that they managed to screw everything up. If they literally threw darts at a wall, they'd get something right. And yet, across the board, galloping inflation, crime out of control, chaos at our southern border, gas prices $5, $6, $7, all of these are the result of wild, out-of-control liberalism. And I think the American people are really fed up. I believe November is going to be a tidal wave. Look, I agree with Mark Penn. You were just quoting Bill Clinton's pollster, who says this is going to be an election like 1994. This is going to be an election like 2010. I think Republicans are going to win the House. I think we're going to win the Senate. I'll make a prediction right now. I believe this election, South Texas, which has been a Democratic bastion for 100 years, I think South Texas is turning red this election because you cannot defend the disaster that is this policy. And, you know, it was striking to me when Biden gave his State of the Union a couple of months ago that they didn't attempt to make a U-turn. They didn't attempt to correct. Look, you don't have to be a political genius to realize they're off track. We all remember Bill Clinton, what an amazing political tactician he was. It was frustrating, but he managed to pull himself out of the fire more than once, and the State of the Union was the great opportunity to do that. Biden doubled down on the Build Back Broke program, on higher taxes, on open borders. He doubled down on failed policies, and I think that's going to lead to an amazing election in November.
You know, it's interesting. You know, as one of the highest approval ratings of any senator, Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin stood up against Biden. You know what? His approval rating in West Virginia is like 60%. Joe's is 33, his national average, according to Quinnipiac. Let me go back to the other issue, and that involves Twitter and the meltdown over Elon Musk. You know, all of a sudden, liberals are now saying they're afraid that people with different political views on the left, that they might get canceled on Twitter. Voices might be silenced. And I'm like, well, where have you been the last number of years? Because conservatives have been living this nightmare for the entire time, and not one of these people one time ever stood up and said, what you're doing by banning Donald Trump, whether you like him or don't like him, is wrong, or shadow banning conservatives, or hiding the Hunter Biden laptop story is just simply wrong. Your thoughts?
Look, that is exactly right. I think Elon Musk's buying Twitter is, without exaggeration, the most important development for free speech in decades. Big tech is an existential threat to free speech and free and fair elections in America. And there's a dynamic that has played out for decades, which is conservatives win when we effectively communicate what we believe, because our ideas work. Free enterprise works. Freedom works. Liberals win when they effectively obfuscate what they believe, when they hide what they believe. And that means they want to censor. They want to silence voices. You know, some time ago, I had the CEO of YouTube sitting in my office, and she was saying, we were talking about Steven Crowder, who's the right-wing libertarian comedian. He's very funny. A lot of young people like him. YouTube demonetized him. And she was saying, well, you got to understand, a lot of people on the left wanted us to ban him entirely. We didn't do that. And I responded, I said, hold on a second. This is not tit for tat. We're not asking you to silence liberals. I don't want you to silence Bernie Sanders or AOC. I want people to hear them, because we win on free speech. If I want to hear conservative ideas, I follow Sean Hannity. And I'll tell you something really promising. Last 2 weeks, my podcast, Verdict with Ted Cruz, we were on campus at University of Alabama. We were on campus at Yale. Had 500 to 600 students. A third of them were liberals. People want to hear truth and substance. And the final point I want to say, congratulations on being the longest late-night TV host in history, beating out Larry King. Larry King was 142 years old. Sean, you're a kid compared to that, but you're doing a hell of a job, and the country's grateful.
As Rocky once said, I got a lot left in the basement. I'm not done yet, Senator. I got a lot in the basement. Anyway, thank you. You're very kind.